Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle, and today I've got an exciting episode. This is New Music Friday, November 5th to 2021. Excited to come to you guys today. This is the show where I give you guys the biggest prog news headlines. I try to do the top 5 prog headlines of the week and discuss them, and then give a few updates on my channel and things that are happening in the upcoming week. So hopefully you guys appreciate that, and let's get into the news. So today, it's kind of funny. I felt like there's one huge item of news that everyone's buzzing about and talking about, and not much else besides that. So I'm going to spend the bulk of the time on the number one headline, and then do a couple quick hits to get to that 5 headlines that I like to do. So let's start with the number one headline that everyone's talking about, and that I've been desperate to talk about too. This is the announcement of the new Porcupine Tree single, album, tour. It's just everything coming together somewhat out of the blue from my perspective. I didn't know this was coming, and it really surprised me and is just super exciting and fun. I'm a huge Porcupine Tree fan, so this is super exciting. I'm really into this, and I hope that it turns out as amazing as it should, because this is an amazing group of musicians that haven't made music in a while together. So really exciting for one of these big seminal prog bands to come together and to create something, and it's really setting a lot of buzz about what's coming, and people really excited about it. I feel like I'm kind of coming late to the news here, because I do this show on Friday and I try to set that format and do everything Fridays, but of course this news really was announced this last Monday, so people have been running with it for the past full week, but here I am talking about it now. So this album comes after a 12-year hiatus from the band since 2009's The Incident, so it's been quite a lengthy period. I kind of figured that they just were kind of done as a band. I didn't know that they were planning new material together, because Steven Wilson since that point has gone off, of course, on his own solo career, which has been quite prolific since that time. He's done several albums like Grace for Drowning, The Raven Who Refused to Sing, and Hand Cannot Erase, and then more recently To the Bone and The Future Bites. So those are the big solo albums that Steven Wilson has released since the Porcupine Tree has disbanded. And I love his solo career, and I think he's done a lot of interesting things. So I thought he had kind of grown beyond the band and really was more interested in doing his own stuff that didn't really fit into the Porcupine Tree mold, because he's doing things that maybe are a bit more experimental, things that are a bit more pop oriented, especially on the last 2 records, which is had a lot of mixed results with the fan base, I would say. I've liked everything he's released. I'm a big fan, so I appreciate him as an artist, and I've liked the last 2 records, even though there's a little bit of pop leanings in certain aspects, especially on The Future Bites, which had a lot of a pop edge to it, but I thought it was a really well-produced, great-sounding record with some great tracks on it. So I'm not too opposed to his current direction. But, of course, what brought me on board with Steven Wilson was his Porcupine Tree material from about, the Light Bulb Sun type era all the way up till The Incident. And some of those albums are some of my favorites of all time. In Absentia, of course, Dead Wing, and Fear of a Blank Planet. These are like seminal albums that really cemented my love of this genre. And it's kind of funny because it's not really super proggy. I'm not even sure they would really embrace the prog label necessarily, at least back then. But it has a lot of progressive leanings and ideas, but done in a more modern aesthetic. It was kind of a good blend at the time, because as I was a teenager, I was into the more alternative rock type stuff. And then my dad showed me prog after that. And so I felt like Porcupine Tree was this perfect kind of marriage of those two lanes, that alternative rock that I was really liking, like Tool and Incubus and bands like that at the time, and this kind of prog aesthetic that I was liking from stuff my dad was showing from, Pink Floyd and Yes and those types of bands. And I felt like Porcupine Tree really kind of hit that sweet spot. In Absentia was kind of a life-changing record for me at the time that really spoke to me, and I just loved the production and the sound of it. But so it's really exciting to get a new album from Porcupine Tree. The new album is called Closure/Continuation, and it's coming out June 24th, 2022, which is quite a ways away. It's interesting that they're announcing this now, even though the album's not coming out for another, 8 months. And so kind of an interesting choice, but it's going to do a lot to build up a lot of hype and anticipation in the meantime, and probably has something to do with the vinyl release, and it's taking a lot of time right now for bands to produce vinyl records, and so that might be part of it, kind of that process of getting the product all assembled and ready to ship out towards the release date. So that could be part of it, because in line with this album announcement, of course, is all the pre-orders that you can get in all different kinds of formats: deluxe LP version, the CD and Blu-ray box set, instrumental versions, Dolby Atmos mix, all that kind of stuff, an art book. You can go check out in various prog-leaning websites the different kind of configurations you can order. Some variations might already be even sold out, but there's definitely different versions of the record that you can pre-order now, even though it's so far in advance. It sounds like these tracks are kind of ones that have lived with the band for quite some time, and they're kind of bringing up to light now, because I was reading a little bit about the announcement here, and it says Harridan, which is the single that was released along with this news, and a few other of the new songs have been in place and shortly after the release of the incident. They initially lived on a hard drive in a slowly growing computer file marked PT2 2012, later renamed PT 2015, PT 2018, and so on. There were times when we even forgot they were there, and times when they nagged us to finish them to see where they would take us. Listening to the finished pieces, it was clear that this wasn't like any of our work outside of the band. The combined DNA of the people behind the music meant that these tracks were forming what was undeniably, unmistakably, obviously a Porcupine Tree record. You'll hear all of that DNA flowing right through Harridan. So that's a great description of what's to be expected. It sounds like they were kind of holding on to these tracks for quite some time, working on them, and then kind of putting them off to the side. But these were such band pieces, they lent themselves to Porcupine Tree. It's not like they could have just pick and pulled them away into their various solo or side projects. So it looks like they had kind of had a plan to bring this all together to fruition as Porcupine Tree, but it just took quite some time to get this thing moving and to get it in the state that it's in now. That's kind of the way I read it. So, and the single Harridan I've listened to, love it. I think it's fantastic. It really harkens back to that period of the band, the Dead Wing incident type period of the band, but also kind of has a little bit of flavor of some of the newer stuff that Steven Wilson does as well, but it's definitely done more in that kind of progressive metal type style that Porcupine Tree was heading towards in those last few records they had. And it's quite a lengthy piece, which is cool. It's 8 or so minutes long, so it goes through a lot of dynamics, and there's just great playing. It starts with this great groovy bass and then some incredible drumming by Gavin Harrison. That's really one of the highlights for me of it. And there's just some atmospheric kind of keyboards. It has kind of a darker vibe like they're known to have. It's really great. And there's even a bit of kind of a more acoustic type section, very, very small, before it gets back into kind of the heavier parts of the song. Steven Wilson has a great vocal, little bit of kind of a vocal effect going on there, and so it's a really cool piece, and I'm really excited. It brings me great excitement for what's to come with the album. And kind of one interesting thing to note, I don't know if it's really been officially announced or talked about yet. I mean, a lot of people are commenting about it. There's kind of a band photo, and it really only features the three members: Steven Wilson, Richard Barbary, and Gavin Harrison. Of course, Colin Edwin was the bass player, but it seems like he may not be a part of this configuration, at least for this record. I've heard some rumblings that it's going to be Nick Beggs kind of stepping in bass, who does a lot of the bass work for Steven Wilson's projects. But I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. That's just something I've kind of heard rumored around. But so it sounds like Colin apparently isn't part of this, and I'm not sure the reasonings behind that. But still, 3 out of 4 members of the classic lineup is pretty cool to me, so I'll take it. And they're also, in conjunction with this, going on tour. They announced some European dates starting in October next year. So once again, pretty far out there. I think they're already selling tickets. Pre-sales are going on, I believe, for these dates. Of course, that's far away from me. I'm based here in the U.S., but for those of you out there in Europe and UK, there's just a lot of cool things to look forward to, some fun concerts. I'm sure it's going to be a spectacle, and it's going to be quite an event because this is such a huge band, and for them to reunite in this fashion is just a really exciting event in the prog world. So definitely check that out. It seems like a can't miss event if you're in those areas. And so I'm just excited. So I wanted to make sure I talked about it and bring that awareness. I'm sure most of my viewers know that this is happening and have known for several days now, but I wanted to give my take on it, and I've really been enjoying the new single and just really excited because they're one of my favorite bands. I'm sure when the time comes, like I said, this is several months away, but I'm kind of already plotting out like doing some sort of Porcupine Tree album rankings at that time. So that should be a lot of fun since they're one of my favorite bands. So this is just super exciting news and wanted to make sure it was heavily featured on this show today. Beyond that, like I said, I'm going to do a couple quick hits to do the other news items. News item number 2 on our list here is Wobbler. They're reissuing some of their early albums, being reissued by Charisma Records on January 28th. So Wobbler's a Norwegian band that does kind of a classic symphonic prog style, kind of almost retro in style, but brought forward in a modern era. Really, their last couple records have been really amazing. That's really, to me, where they've really shined. 2017's From Silence to Somewhere and last year's Dwellers of the Deep were two really fantastic records, and they're becoming fast one of my favorite bands, I'd say, in this space. So it's really exciting that they're reissuing their first 3 albums in an official format here. It sounds like it's quite a good release. Like I said, they're going to be being released January 28th. Hinterland, Afterglow, and Rights at Dawn are the 3 albums. And so there's going to be like I believe there's a CD version, limited edition colored vinyl versions, and a very limited box set. So definitely jump on those if you are interested in Wobbler and their product. I think they're a great band that deserve heavy attention. So I saw that pop up just earlier today, and I thought that was worth mentioning. Item number 3 in my news items here is Bent Knee, and they're releasing their new album today, Frosting. This is an interesting release. I haven't heard it yet, but I've been anticipating it. I've heard the couple singles that they've put out. It sounds like it's kind of a different record for them. It's hard to really get a sense of what it's going to be like because I feel like the reviews have been a little scattered and kind of saying, well, it sounds like Bent Knee and it doesn't sound like Bent Knee, and it's them stretching themselves but also doing what they do best. So I'm not quite sure what to expect, but the first single, Queer Gods, was a great like eclectic pop number that I thought was really cool and really stood out to me. So if there's more like that, I'm on board. Bent Knee, to be honest, kind of is on the fringes of what I like, but they've had some really great records. I really liked You Know What They Mean, that came out in 2019. Land Animal and Say So, the 2 albums before that, were also great. I feel like the records for me have points that maybe veer off a little bit too in the avant-garde type category for me. But when they're good and doing something solid, I think they're one of the best in their category. Kind of this indie style, just eclectic. It's almost hard to really consider them prog in the same vein as some of these others, but I know a lot of prog fans really like them. So this album's coming is out today via Take This to Heart Records. So I believe their last record was released on Inside Out. So this show's kind of a departure from that, maybe kind of signifying that they're maybe leaving that prog category a little bit and branching out to a little bit of a different style for the band. But Sounds like it's an eclectic record, a mix of lighthearted and pretty songs, but also heavy and nasty songs is how they describe it. It was going to be multiple EPs, but they decided to lean into these differences and make it into a full album that kind of switches back and forth between all these different styles. So, and they're also opening for the tour of The World is a Beautiful Place and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die. That's a band name. And so that's kind of happening alongside this. So a lot of interesting news in that camp if you're a fan of the band. And it's definitely an album I'm going to be checking out. Number 4 item here on the news list. This is a personal band that I like a lot. I did a little bit of a review of their latest compilation record, Anthems to the Edge of the Earth. This is Dirt Poor Robins, and their new project is coming out soon, Queen of the Night. Interestingly, it's kind of similar to like what Deer Hunter just did. It's not really an album, it's a short film, but it comes with music, a musical component. So it's kind of them trying to bring their music into a film, and it sounds like it's quite an interesting project. The first episode is coming out November 16th, so not too long from now at 9 p.m. Eastern on their YouTube website, so on their YouTube channel. So definitely something worth checking out. So Queen of the Night is going to be a full-length concept record, but they're releasing it episodically, similar to how they've released several of their albums. Most of their albums are concept records that they kind of have released episodically in some form. In January this year, they hashed out a screenplay, sort of a modern age fairy tale shown in a style like a silent film era style, but reinforced by their music. So it's a silent film with their music in the background. So they really put a lot of work into this production, casting and crew, an 8K camera, filmed in May, wrapped in June, and then they've spent a lot of time in post-production doing different effects and so forth. So they've really put a lot into this, and it should be a really great project. So the music sounds like it's going to be a little bit more old-fashioned, kind of match that silent film style, inspired by romantic and impressionistic periods with a little bit of their own modern flair put in there as well. So the first episode is a prologue where we get to meet kind of the main character as a young boy before the main event of the story. So really going to be cool. I really am always excited for new music from them. They're quite an interesting band that's hard to categorize. They just do really solid, great rock music in a variety of different styles. So I just really like them. I think they should appeal to any fans of the Deer Hunter. I think they kind of occupy a similar lane. A lot of concept records. They kind of morph into different styles when they choose to. They don't really stick to a particular thing. They just do what sounds good to them. And so I'm always excited for a new project by them. So I will definitely be checking this one out. And then finally, news item number 5, I just saw announced Rick Wakeman announcing rock ensemble tour dates for 2022. So Rick Wakeman is playing 5 headline shows with the English Rock Ensemble in the spring 2022. It's going to feature material from his most recent rock-flavored album, The Red Planet, which was a fantastic solo record by him, I thought, that came out recently. So it's going to be a cool group, and it's cool to see Rick Wakeman kind of part of this rock collective, and so it's going to be pretty fun. This particular show, it looks like, will include some songs that various female singers have sung with Rick Wakeman over the years, plus some tracks from Red Planet, as I said, and then also adding additional musicians to bring the music justice. Joining him on stage are Dave Colquhoun, Tony Fernandez, Lee Pomeroy, Haley Sanderson, and Adam Wakeman. So definitely some interesting artists there. It should be fun. The English Rock Ensemble is one that was originally founded in 1975 as a solo project by Rick after he left Yes, and he's continued to play with them through the years with kind of a fluid lineup. But it's been about 20 years since they've last toured the UK, so something to really, really look forward to. Once again, Rick Wakeman, of course, a legend in the prog world, was one of the notable members of Yes, and he also is doing his own like Christmas style tour also throughout December, it looks like. Rick Wakeman's not quite as grumpy as last Christmas tour, So he's a very funny guy, and he really leans into his humor, and I think that's a lot of fun. So just a lot of fun to be had with Rick Wakeman. If you want to see him live, there's definitely some opportunities coming up. So check that out and go see him if he's around your area. So, and there you go. That's my news for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys are as excited about the new Porcupine tree as I am. It's quite a ways down the road, so there's going to be a lot of time to build up excitement, but this was a cool teaser to get into it, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be really great. And hopefully it could even lead to future things, that it's not just a one-off project, that maybe they'll do more music beyond that. So yeah, that is really exciting. Beyond that, with the channel, I thought it was a pretty fun week for the channel. We did a great Jana Reacts to Rush's 2112, kind of an epic prog track, and Jana really loved it, so please check out that reaction if you haven't yet. It was a lot of fun. We delved a bit into the lyrics and the story, and had a lot of good time with it. So I think it was one of the more successful endeavors for teaching my wife a little bit about progressive rock. So really good. And then I did sort of a kind of random new music shuffle during the week of some more short form music expressions, some EPs, and talking a lot about the new Deer Hunter release that was kind of confusing a bit, but I think I hopefully cleared it up a bit in that music shuffle show. Short film and also a couple singles and a soundtrack is kind of the gist, and a couple other cool notable releases by artists such as Moron Police, Crown Lands, Mariana Simkina, and of course Novana. So definitely an eclectic grab bag, something in there for everyone, I'd say. So if you're interested in and want to check out some newer music, I would steer you that way. And coming up, another big reaction with me and Jana. We're kind of doing our next foray into the world of Nightwish. So we kind of like to do that about every couple months. So we felt it was about time to get back into the Nightwish routine. So that will be coming this Sunday. It's quite a good one. And then this week we're going to do our next classic album series. We did Abbey Road a couple weeks ago, and now we're leaning into Tommy by The Who. So that should be an exciting one that we get to talk about. I have the album here, just for anyone curious. So that should be coming this week. And beyond that, just I've been listening to Dream Theater records, trying to work on sort of album rankings that I'm planning for a few weeks away from now. So that's kind of in the future. A lot of great Jana Reacts coming. We've kind of been filming those throughout the past week or so, and it's been a lot of fun. So I hope you guys agree that it's a lot of fun. Please, in the comments, I'm trying to assemble some albums to do kind of another new music shuffle type thing. But I haven't really come across too many albums that I'm really for sure going to talk about. So if you have any like kind of hidden gem prog records that have come out recently, I would appreciate it if you mentioned those in the comments. I might be kind of reaching out maybe in the community tab or something like that to kind of get people's favorite prog albums of the year and so forth. I'm kind of already planning out my end of year stuff that I'm really excited for. One of my favorite things when watching other people, other YouTube channels or other websites and so forth, I love the year-end lists, the year-end, these are the best albums of the year, and I'm kind of planning to do something a little unique with it. I hope that it's not too weird or silly, but I think it should be fun. So any input about what albums you think might be worth looking into for a best of the year kind of list, I'd appreciate it. So thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys appreciated the show. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I do this weekly of this music news type show. Hopefully you guys are interested and want to keep apprised of what's coming up in the prog world. It's kind of my purpose here. Kind of partially the purpose is to introduce people to news items they may not have heard throughout the week, and also just to give my take on things that you may have already heard about but are interested to know how I feel. And so that's me giving my opinions about it. So hopefully you guys like that format. And I do all kinds of prog shows on this channel. Jana Reacts. I do a lot of album reviews and it's just a lot of fun to be had, and really it's just about enjoying the music and really promoting that. So hopefully you guys are enjoying whatever music you've got going on, and that everything's going well for everybody. So thank you so much, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next episode. Bye.